This was what Singapore looked like in the 1960s. And this is what Singapore looks like today. In 2021, the country achieved an impressive GDP per capita of $72,000, ranking it as the fourth largest in the world. Additionally, Singapore holds the second spot for ease of doing business globally. However, this level of development was not always the case for Singapore. Just a few decades ago, it was a small nation with a limited population and no significant natural resources. In fact, Singapore has to rely on external sources for its water and food supply. The odds were stacked against the survival of this tiny island. But how did Singapore become so rich despite being such a small country? How did Singapore go from poverty to prosperity, and a developed country that attracts people from around the world? Here are the reasons. Number 1, the fight to end corruption. Kuan Yew, who served as Singapore's first Prime Minister from 1959 and has held the position for a remarkable 31 years and 178 days, recognized the importance of eliminating corruption to attract foreign investment and create employment opportunities for Singaporeans. The government implemented stringent laws and regulations that made corruption nearly impossible. Kuan Yew demonstrated unwavering determination in his pursuit to eliminate corruption from all levels of society. As a result of these efforts, Singapore has emerged as the most transparent nation in Asia and ranks as the fourth least corrupt country in the world in terms of the public sector. The elimination of corruption played a pivotal role in Singapore's remarkable growth. A corruption-free environment instills confidence in businesses, as they can operate without the need to engage in bribery or unethical practices when dealing with government officials. So, how did Lee accomplish this? He implemented anti-corruption legislation and established a system where the salaries of government officials were linked to those of top professionals in the private sector. This approach enabled the government to attract and retain competent individuals. Presently, the Prime Minister of Singapore is the highest-paid politician in the world, earning approximately 2.2 million SGD per year, including bonuses. The President receives an annual salary of around 1.5 million SGD. Ministers responsible for running various ministries receive fixed salaries and performance-based bonuses tied to the socio-economic outcomes of Singaporeans, typically earning 1.1 million SGD per year. To put things into perspective, the highest-ranking political leader in the United States, the President, earns a salary of $400,000 annually. Practically speaking, when government leaders are well compensated and their performance is directly tied to the socio-economic progress of the country, they are more inclined to prioritize the nation's development rather than seeking personal gains through unethical means. It is a common observation that poorer economies often struggle with higher levels of corruption, which hinders their economic growth potential. Singapore's fight against corruption served as the crucial initial step toward achieving sustained economic growth in the country. By prioritizing integrity and transparency, Singapore created an attractive environment for both domestic and foreign businesses to thrive, leading to significant economic development and prosperity. Number 2, a business-friendly environment to attract FDI. The attractive low tax rates in Singapore have been instrumental in attracting a significant influx of foreign business, leading to a substantial increase in foreign direct investment in the country's economy. The presence of numerous companies investing in Singapore has contributed to robust economic growth. To illustrate, while the United States has a corporate tax rate of 21%, Singapore maintains a considerably lower tax rate of 17%, making it notably more competitive compared to many other developed nations. Besides corporate taxes, Singapore has a territorial tax system, meaning that only income generated within Singapore is subject to tax. Foreign-sourced income and capital gains are generally not taxed in Singapore when remitted back to the country. This territorial tax system helps attract FDI as businesses can benefit from tax savings on income generated outside Singapore. Apart from low taxes, Singapore also boasts a business-friendly regulatory environment. According to various reports, Singapore almost always appears in the top 3 on the list of business-friendly countries in the world. The country's strong rule of law, protection of intellectual property rights, and robust legal system instill confidence and security for businesses operating in Singapore. Number 3, a strategic location. Although Singapore may lack natural resources and extensive land, it possesses a significant competitive advantage in the form of its strategically positioned port on the global map. The Singaporean government fully capitalizes on the potential of its port to drive economic growth and increase the country's GDP. Singapore imports natural resources and semi-manufactured goods from the region and around the world, refines them, and subsequently re-exports them. This can be observed in industries such as wafer fabrication and oil refining. Singapore's port accommodates over 130,000 vessel calls annually, making it the world's busiest port in terms of shipping tonnage. The maritime industry alone contributed 7% to Singapore's GDP. While Singapore has pursued diversification in other areas to boost its GDP, the government continues to prioritize investments in the maritime industry. Recognizing the effectiveness of this approach, Singapore acknowledges the need to reinforce its port's leadership position in the face of regional competition, which will also uplift other sectors of the economy. Number 4. Singapore has become a brain-gained nation. Despite being a small country of about 5.4 million in population, Singapore is able to attract skilled workforce and talent into the country. In 2020, Singapore issued over 27,000 employment passes, which allow highly skilled foreign professionals to work in Singapore. The country's global investor program has also attracted over 1,500 high-net-worth individuals who have invested in Singapore and become permanent residents. Singapore's proactive immigration policies attract foreign talent to address skill gaps. For example, the Tech Pass scheme, launched in 2021, targets top-tier tech professionals and allows them to work and start businesses in Singapore with ease. These policies ensure access to a diverse range of skills and knowledge, strengthening Singapore's talent pool. Not only that, but to attract people to the country, Singapore offers a high standard of living, excellent healthcare, safety, and a clean environment. These factors contribute to an attractive quality of life for foreign professionals and their families, making Singapore an appealing destination for talent retention and recruitment. According to Malaysia's HR Minister, 1.13 million Malaysians reside and work in Singapore as of 2022, comprising a significant portion of the foreign workforce. On average, salaries in Singapore are higher compared to Malaysia. According to the Malaysian Employers Federation, Malaysian professionals working in Singapore can earn up to 3 to 4 times more than their counterparts in Malaysia. According to a survey by recruitment agency Robert Half, 81% of Malaysian professionals consider international work experience valuable for their career development, with Singapore being a preferred destination for international exposure. This has made Singapore a brain-gain country attracting talent and skilled workforce from around the globe, making Singapore one of the richest countries in the world. Number 5. Savings, Singapore's secret to getting rich. As people's incomes increase, the Singaporean government has implemented a mandatory policy requiring citizens to save a portion of their earnings in the Central Provident Fund, known as CPF. The CPF was established during the British colonial era in 1955 as a compulsory savings scheme. It requires every employee to maintain a CPF account and contribute a percentage of their income, while employers make corresponding contributions. The funds deposited into the CPF are entirely invested in government bonds. This approach empowers the government to utilize the funds effectively for economic growth, and indeed, the Singaporean government has employed the funds productively to enhance economic development. Savings are fundamental to fostering economic growth. Without savings, there would be no investments and consequently no economic progress. It is through savings that investments can be made in new technologies, infrastructure, and educational systems, all of which contribute to improving economic growth. Singapore's impressive savings rate has been a key driver of its economic success. With a gross domestic savings rate of 53.8%, which translates to an average of $101,000, adjusted for purchasing power parity, Singapore boasts one of the highest savings rates in the world. This remarkable level of savings has played a pivotal role in fueling the country's economic growth. And this is how Singapore becomes a rich nation and continue to do so. Against all odds, Singapore, a small island lacking in essential resources like food and water, has defied expectations to become one of Asia's most prosperous nations. This achievement highlights the effectiveness of Singapore's government in employing robust intervention measures within market systems to drive economic growth. And Singapore's success is often related to the country's late founding father, Kuan Yew. Many people, especially Singaporeans, would agree that it was Lee's soft authoritarian leadership style that transformed Singapore from poverty to prosperity. This was what Lee said during his prime. "I am often accused of interfering in the private lives of citizens. Yes, if I did not, had I not done that, we wouldn't be here today. And I say without the slightest remorse, that we wouldn't be here. We would not have made economic progress if we had not intervened on very personal matters: who your neighbor is, how you live, the noise you make, how you spit, or what language you use. We decide what is right. Never mind what the people think." If you like this video, hit the like button to show your support. More importantly, subscribe to this channel so that you will continue to receive interesting videos about Asia.